Pittsburgh, Oklahoma rallied in the final minutes to push the first game of the 2018 NCAA Tournament into overtime, so Trae Young's college career lasted 5 minutes longer than it might have. And he was the last Sooner through the handshake line, so maybe even a minute or two more. It did not end in glory, although that seemed a given for a team seeded 10th in the Midwest region. It did not have to end Thursday, though. NCAA Tournament Live March Madness scores, highlights from Thursday's NCAA Tournament games, so close, Rayford Young, Trae's father, whispered to Sporting News when it was over. By definition, he was right. The final score was 83-78 in favor of Rhode Island, but it was a 2-point game inside the final 50 seconds of OT that had the capacity crowd at PPG Paints Arena rocking. Chosen last week by Sporting News as a first-team All-American and Freshman of the Year, Young scored 28 points and passed for 7 assists against Rhody, 26-7. Rams coach Danny Hurley, who played for Seton Hall in the 1990s against some of the game's greatest legends, was blown away by what he'd seen from Trae in preparing for this and coaching against him. "We knew he would make some incredibly tough shots," Hurley said. "The kid has no weakness and it's going to be an amazing NBA career ahead for him. It was a pleasure too. I played against Allen Iverson and Ray Allen in college, and Alonzo Mourning. It's a pleasure to be on the court with a guy that good and that great and compete against him." Young did what he could to help Oklahoma advance. Not all that he could, perhaps, but all that he could without risking the wrath of those who looked at his 19 shots per game and judged that total to be extravagant. He attempted 18 shots against the Rams, and made half of them. His teammates attempted 51 shots and made 20. You don't have to do the math on that. It's there in the final score. That's a part of my game that I matured at this year. Young said, "There was a time, even in the Oklahoma State game that went into overtime. Tried to shoot us to win, and that didn't happen. So this time I tried to make the right play, and it just didn't work out. We just came up short. I just tried to make the right play." March Madness 2018, ranking the 68 best players in the NCAA Tournament that Young referenced the OK State game that occurred in Stillwater in late January underscores what a fateful point that was for his and the Sooners season. To that point, he'd been playing with an almost unprecedented degree of freedom and thriving on it. He'd taken more than 20 shots in 6 games, and OU had won 5 of them. When he shot 39 times and scored 48 points at Gallagher-Iba Arena and OU lost in overtime, though, the backlash from basketball analysts was so severe he all but apologized for what occurred following his next game. "He had an interesting year," Coach Lon Kruger said. "Probably as interesting as anyone can have." Following that weekend, the joy that once seemed so contagious among the Sooners leaked from their play. They won just 4 of the 14 games that remained before Selection Sunday, and thus become one of the teams whose inclusion in this event was most profoundly criticized. "We weren't focused on that. We don't need any extra motivation," Young told Sporting News. "We just wanted to come out here and play for Sooner Nation and play for ourselves and play for our families. We don't care about what's all going on outside of this." Bender remembered Chris Webber's timeout. "Don't forget the rest of amazing 1993 tournament were that entirely true. Young might not have been giving up the ball so easily during and after scoring 14 of the Sooners' final 17 points in regulation in their first 2 free throws in OT. He did twice attempt 3-pointers from a long range in the extra period when Rhody chose to trap off-ball screens to force him back. The percentages were with Young there. He's going to make his fair share of those shots, and if he missed OU would be rebounding 4 on 3. But the Sooners didn't get either one. With OU up a point and 2:07 left, Sooners guard Richard Odomes took a feed from Young, drove toward the lane and threw a pass over the sideline. After E.C. Matthews nailed a 3-pointer to put the Rams up 2, Christian Doolittle got the ball and missed a layup. That's how it went for Oklahoma. In the final month of the season, the Sooners closed with 8 losses, by a combined 100 points, over 10 games. When they made their cameo last week at the Big 12 tournament, they trailed by 11 after 20 minutes and never really challenged in the second half. Against the Rams, OU rallied from 7 points down with 5:45 remaining to push the game into an extra period, surviving a buzzer-beating put-back attempt from Rhody star Jared Terrell that rolled across the rim but chose not to fall through the goal.